Amy, hey, Semantic Mastery gang, Happy New Year. My question is, what's the deal with PBNs for 2018? I see a lot of conflicting information about setting them up and how to use them. I am so confused, and I really don't know what to do. I'm going to let Marco take that one because I know he's got a strong opinion on it.
I wanted to rant when I saw this because people who are still using the term PBN are doing the industry a disservice. There's no such thing as a PBN anymore. Name me the last private blog network that you got into, you got some links, and it actually did something for your rankings. And I mean truly private, because the moment that they advertise, it's no longer private. I mean, that's an oxymoron, private blog network, but you advertise, right? You go out into you do it in Google, and Google's looking for you. And so what's going on now is that PBNs, or whatever it is that you want to call them, I don't know what we're going to call them. What it's become, it's a link network, and you can do your own link network, but it takes a lot of time and effort. You can't just go the way that you used to get an expired domain and then just bring it back, put a link in there, and link to your website, and that's it. It was fine. Now we're talking about relevance. Is there activity, relevance, right? And trust and authority. That all comes into play. Why? Because Google figured out that instead of going after the private blog networks, all they had to do was go after the type of links that these private blog networks provided, which were garbage to start with. And so they came up with the distance graph. And what the distance graph did is it devalued most of the links, unless your links came from what's called a seed site or a seed set. And if you Google the death of the PBN, death PBN, I forget what I called the blog post, from back in 2015, December, it tells you what happened and why it happened. And it told you way back when Google simply came public with what they were going to do with these types of links. And so how do you fix that? How do you make these links quality? Well, it's something that has to be worked on. We do it through RYS Reloaded. We do it through Drive Stacks. We do it through Google Sites. That's inside the belly of the beast. You can't get any closer to trust and authority than that. Then we get some activity going. We get tons of relevance going. And so we don't need to go to a PBN type thing to do it. We could call it satellites, because we do use Peter Drew's G-Site Builder to push relevance to something that may be a little bit difficult to push up, right? Maybe we have a keyword, we'll build a page for it, we'll push extra relevance. It might just take an extra folder inside the main drive folder for that keyword, an extra page, an extra push press. I mean, it's so many things where press releases have quality links that you can use. There's so many places where you can grab quality links. Our own Syndication Academy over time builds up the quality, the relevance, the trust, the authority, and activity, all of the things that you need to make this work. And so I get upset when I see people still using the term PBN. And even in one of the bigger Facebook groups that still push PBNs, the person who started the group came out and said that PBNs were no longer working the way that they used to. You have to do them differently. But he's still calling them PBNs, and I don't understand why, because they're not PBNs. I mean, that's my take on it. If you guys have another take on it, or if you can expound on what I said, you're more than welcome. But to me, the upsetting thing is that in 2018, we're still calling them PBNs, and that's a disservice to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, they are still, I mean, they can still be effective. Part of the reason I stopped using them was because the requirements to hide your footprint, you know, it became more and more difficult. Like really, with that to do it correctly. Finding hosting that was decent, that was affordable, you know, hiding all the footprint issues for, like, you know, name servers and SOA records and who is data, and then you have to have unique IPs and different themes and different types of site installs, and like all this shit that goes into it is just, it continued to get more and more difficult. More and more stuff was added for PBN in order for them to be set up correctly to where they were safe and would last, would have some longevity and still be effective. Right. Like another one of the things about PBNs, those types of sites, is that they need to be built out to look like real sites. Right. And so you end up spending, what I ended up finding was that I ended up having to build out PBNs as if they were like mini money sites, like other money sites, because that's the only way to make them look valid and genuine and real, to where they'll pass manual review. And what makes PBN so much more effective is if you can get them to rank and to actually generate real traffic, right? That in itself will supercharge a PBN. But in order to do that, you have to treat the site like a money site. And to me, it just was so much work to try to build little mini money sites, so to speak, to push, to build links in order to the money site that I ultimately want to target. It's just a lot of work. And so that's part of the reason why I stopped doing it. However, there might be some solutions out there that are still valid, that work. And, maybe your friends at Semantic Mastery are working on developing something to do that.
Well, I would say that's a definite possibility that we will come up with something, but it will not be a PBN.
No,
There's no such
PBN.
thing
That's right.
as a PBN, guys. There is no such thing. I don't give a fuck who's saying it. There's no PBN.
Yep. One last thing I want to mention about that before we move on, we still got about 10 minutes, is interestingly, some of the people I talk to that still use PBNs quite a bit, actually, that is the process or the method that I was just talking about, is what they do. And that is, they treat them almost as if they're mini money sites. They work on making sure that the design is nice, that the content is quality, that it ranks, that there are offers and things that can be monetized on the actual PBN site, so that the site itself ends up generating revenue. It's not just a site that was built for the sole intent of ranking another site. It's a site that actually generates traffic and actually generates revenue. They'll put AdSense on it, or they'll put affiliate offers, or they'll put banner ads. So, so that they can get paid for clicks, that kind of stuff. There's all different kinds of things that you can do to monetize affiliate site, or PBN style sites. Okay. And that's one of the things that the people that are still using them, that's what they're doing, right? That's what, at least the people that I've talked to, they're creating like these little mini money sites that they're monetizing, they're ranking, they're getting traffic to them. And all of those are signals that help to elevate or increase the power of that site. It makes it more valid, right? More powerful. So anything that it links to becomes it's a much stronger link, because what Marco says, ART, it has all of those characteristics of a real site. Go ahead, Marco.
So what they work on is activity, relevance, trust, and authority, which changes the link from a garbage link to a link that's considered part of a seed site or a seed set. And again, go read the blog post. I know it's from 2015. It's over 2 years old, but it's relevant today because it's explaining what's happening. And I explained it back in 2015. So 2 years ago, guys, this was done. This was, you were warned that it was happening. I know a lot of you guys are new and you're not up on it. If you're not, I'll go find it for you and post the link so that you can go read it. But it's a good read.
Awesome. Adrian, one more question about Lead Gadget. He says, you said you would be doing a course on teaching VAs to build with Lead Gadget. How's that going? Well, that was done. I created training for virtual assistants. I trained 2 VAs that's all they were doing full time, was building sites. So, but I never released that. It was proprietary training. In other words, it was specific to the projects that we were working on. So I did not make a more generic version of it. And I am no longer associated with those guys. Like, I'm not part of that business anymore. So obviously I'm not going to create training for it now, Adrian. Okay. At the time, I was associated with them, and I did develop it, but it was never turned into an actual training product that you could use, because it wasn't white labeled, so to speak, or whitewashed, if that makes sense. It was still all the projects I was working on.